Hey, what's up, and welcome to episode 6 of Talkin Carball. I am here. My name is Austin, and I'm with my friend Colin, and we're just ready to talk some RLCS. How you feeling after the first weekend of EU?
Well, first I got to comment on how official that intro was.
I didn't have a
So
bit in
businesslike.
mind. It's like 50-50 me just entering with just like a terrible segue, or me just reading off the pretty bad script in my head. So today was a script day.
Nice. Today's script day. All
Script day.
right. Well, I don't think anyone could have written the script that was EU this weekend.
No, sir. E.
Absolute chaos in the region.
Yeah, and I do not think that is going to stop. But we will get into all of that mess later. Think we only have one item of business for today?
Yeah. Please enter the giveaway again. Please enter the giveaway. Not many people have entered it, so if you enter, you have a very good chance to win. You can get the sick endpoint decal that guarantees you dubs, apparently.
Yeah, that is big facts. All three players repping the endpoint decal. Regional win. Coincidence?
Yeah,
I think not.
absolutely not.
I think FaZe had for most of the tournament had two people wearing their decal as well. So
Yeah, so guaranteed dubs if you get the decals.
I don't know if Octane is tracking that statistic yet, but I sure hope they start doing so because
Maybe direct.
it's important.
Yeah,
It is very important.
very important.
But
We had some news.
for sure, more news than I would have expected this deep into the off season. But in both NA and EU, you want to take the first item?
Yeah, so we got at least one new org, Navi or Natus Vincere,
Yes.
signed the fadeaway roster of Tigray, Dead Monster, and Louis P.
Yeah,
Um,
and
very
that's super exciting for a number of reasons. I think there was like a post that was going around on Reddit and Twitter of Tigray basically saying that he had like another opportunity, but he wanted to stick with this roster because he believed in it, and he was also pretty sad because he got sort of screwed over by Barcelona. So to see him like get picked up by a tier 1 org is really cool.
apparently they're a Ukrainian organization.
Yeah, it's just like pretty interesting just because there's sort of like a pattern of teams picking up Rocket League teams outside of sort of like their native region, which I think just sort of like indicates how sort of not like desperate, but you know what I mean, like excited orgs are to get involved in the new RLCS season. So I think that's really cool because that's a bit of a brand risk for them to sort of like venture outside of like Russia and Ukraine, just because that's where most of their players are. I'm on their website right now, and I am just it's a stimulation overload. They're doing something funky, but really exciting.
Yeah. You want to go with the other org announcement? The Misfits, Team Misfits, or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
They signed. What was it Misfits Gaming? Got to
Misfits
get the
Gaming.
official name.
Yes, sir.
Signed the Monkeys.
Yeah, once again, really exciting. I think that their League of Legends team is in Europe, so not unheard of for them, and they'll be able to make some content around that. But they also have franchise teams in the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League. So
Yeah.
big money coming into the scene. Really exciting. That Monkeys roster obviously deserved to get picked up. So just happy that justice was served there.
Yeah, they're Florida based in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So once again, really cool. Then the other news were primarily just roster moves, and NA already sort of strange to have roster mania going on at the start of the season. But first one was Pittsburgh Knights, obviously not coming off of a great performance in Regional One. They dropped Ridoko and picked up Omar, or El Omarton.
El Omar Matone.
El Omar Matone. I'm sorry. How could I mess that up?
He's been around for a while. He's competing in CRL this year.
Yeah,
But yeah,
he's on the ones leaderboard a lot. I think the other I think he's a ranked grinder, so a bit of a demon. I'm not too familiar like with his play, but obviously you know most ranked grinders are very mechanical players. So excited to see what he can do. Just because obviously things weren't really working that well for PK. They continued to not work that well, but we'll get into that later.
yeah. This means that the entire PK roster from last season is just completely switched out.
Oh, true.
Because I
Rodoko is the
believe the roster was Rodoko, ZPS, and Kinsei,
yeah in the fall.
and now, yeah, and all three of them are now not on the roster anymore.
Yeah,
So
we're seeing that a lot from the start of LCS to now. A lot of or LCSX, a lot of teams have completely flipped. So not that that was that iconic of a roster, but still interesting to
yeah,
see.
interesting for sure. And then probably the biggest news. This came out late last night, so it's kind of decent. We're recording this a bit late.
Yes.
Um, Beast Mode of Shopify Rebellion, one of the best and most up and coming players in NA, is retiring from competitive Rocket League to pursue real life sports.
Was that he was
Um,
that was the announcement he's pursuing real life sports?
that is what Rapid said on Reddit last night. So
Well, I didn't know that part of it. Oh man.
yeah,
Well,
so kind of sucky timing because I feel like if he was going to retire, he should have done it over the off season and let Shopify like get a new player.
yeah.
Instead, now they're competing with Nexity,
Hmm.
and that hasn't gone well.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah. I think this also just sort of sheds some light onto. I think we were questioning a lot last week why Shopify were doing so poorly, and I think this shows there was obviously some sort of like internal friction. But best of luck to him. Really sad to see that happen.
Yeah, he was an exciting player, and I'm sure we were all ready to see what they could do this year because we thought they were going to be competing for that land spot,
Hmm.
and that's not going to happen now.
I mean, like just off the top of my head, I'd say he was probably the RLCSX Rookie of the Year for NA. Like,
Yeah,
I can't think of like even like I mean the only other person you could argue was Drees, but he was there for just one split, and Beast Mode was incredible pretty much the entire season.
yeah. It's, I mean, they were a top seven roster throughout the entire season, and
Hmm.
they were really getting good by the end. So we all thought they'd come through and challenge for that top four spot this year, but nope.
Yeah, but whatever means of recruiting they did to find Beast Mode, hopefully they can just find another cracked out 15-year-old, and I think we can sort of ride that as our segue to EU, which was full of cracked 15-year-olds.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and one
I
in
mean,
particular, Seku, absolutely.
well, he's actually not 15. He's like 17,
Okay, well,
but
I tried. I
still
tried.
cracked young child
Yes.
who carried, not carried. The other two did very well as well,
Yeah.
but led endpoint endpoint to a win. They won the regional endpoint CSX.
Over BDS,
Absolutely insane.
it wasn't even like everyone else like fell apart. But
Yeah,
we'll get into that. Oh, that was
I
such
will
a
Venmo. I will Venmo anyone $100 if they can prove that they had endpoint winning the event and Team Vitality getting 16th.
yeah, truly insane stuff. I don't even think we had endpoint in our top 10 EU power rankings.
We had them in our honorable mentions.
Yeah, which is like a fair thing to do. I mean, they had a pretty weak spring split, and they signed. I mean, Saiku, who maybe like some people who have their ears more to the ground in EU would know about, but like a relatively unknown player. So for like to have this much success this early on is insane.
Absolutely.
So let's sort of like you want to hop into the Swiss?
The Swiss, yeah. So the two teams that went 3-0 in the Swiss were Carmine Corp and Simper Esports.
Mm-hmm.
not too shocking. I think the biggest result here was Simper beat BDS, but
Yeah,
Archie just kind of destroys BDS by himself.
yeah.
So
This is like becoming a repeat thing where Semper just play out of their minds against BDS. And if you have a chance, go onto Twitter, ArchieRL, and look at the clip he posted of like how they won. Pretty much, it was like a zero boost pool shot save, like where one of the players on Semper bumped Archie into the ball to make a save, and then BDS like hit bar down and it bounced like 3 times and barely got the ball out, and then they took it down the other way and scored. It's just that they have magic when they play BDS,
yeah, it was ridiculous.
which until the finals was what I assumed it took to beat BDS. But yeah, that's those two teams. That's certainly not shocking to see them there.
Yeah, no. And then so our 3-1 teams were Endpoint, BDS, and Misfits Gaming.
Mm-hmm. And once again, not like shocking. There's a lot of different teams that could sort of file in here, but I think Misfits and BDS were people like projected top, like BDS obviously top 2 or 3 teams. Misfits, a lot of people saw them going like top 6. Certainly not a shocking to see them qualify, but this was the start of the magic run for Endpoint.
Yeah, Endpoint, their only loss here was to Misfits. They took down SK and Dig, as well as Queso. Misfits' only loss was to Carmine, so nothing too out of the ordinary there.
Yeah, and this would be the only time that Endpoint lost throughout the entire tournament was there to Misfits.
Yep, yep. And then our 3-2 teams were Evil Geniuses, Dignitas, and Williams Resolve. These were the last 3 teams to qualify for the playoff bracket.
Yeah. And coolest thing I think that jumps out is seeing that EG reverse swept the Swiss, meaning they lost their first 2 series and they had to win 3 series in a row against Vitality, Giants, and 0 Nation, who looked really good on the day, and they pulled it off going to Game 5 in 2 of those 3 series. So that was pretty incredible to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then Dig, you kind of would hope that they'd qualify.
Mm-hmm.
They managed to get it done. They had a bit of a slow start, but they pulled it out in the end. And then Williams Resolve, definitely a solid result for them, getting top 8.
Yeah, and they had to beat the Flying Dutchman in the final round, which is and Guild in the round before. Their last 2, they went BO5 against 2 very experienced teams, and so for a relatively young team, that is pretty awesome. But sort of going down to the second side of the bracket, these 3 teams went 2-3, barely didn't qualify. The heartbreak round, we have Queso, Flying Dutchman, and 0 Nation. All sad to see. All 3 games in the do or die went to best of 5, so these teams were so very close. But I think that they'll all be like at least proud of their performances, especially Queso.
Absolutely. And what's brutal is all 3 of these teams were 2-1. So they all had 2 chances to win and move on, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah,
Just tragic.
yeah. I mean, if you look at their round 4s, though, they played Endpoint, Misfits, and BDS going down in that order, which are 3 teams that tough,
Yeah,
tough luck, man. Um, but I was really excited to see like Queso are, I think, exceeding everyone's expectations at the start of the season.
absolutely. They do match the Team Queso vibe though from last year, where you might see absolutely flashes of brilliance, and then you might see them team bumping each other and giving away open nets.
Yes.
So it matches up. It matches up really well.
Well, 2 of them are 15 years old. I think two of them are. I guess Joyo played in the spring split last year.
yeah, Joyo and Rise actually played on various teams throughout RFCSX. Never
Yeah,
quite. He was in a few regionals.
yeah, but he's their veteran player, and he's 17
Yep.
years old.
Yep.
So the fact that they're playing this well at the start, like Buenos Partida?
But yeah, Buenos Partida is what they were all typing in the chat, kind of as I guess a meme because they're a Spanish organization and none of them are Spanish.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out is that Vatira is just an absolute beast. And I was looking through some of his history, and he was on. The team I saw like pop up every now and then. Glory for Builders, and last year on their roster they had Saiku, um, Zen, who's like a 14-year-old French prodigy, and and Vatira were all
Yeah,
actively on the roster at the same time.
be absolutely cracked.
Yeah, obviously they all ended up in better places now because they're competing at a very high level. But just these French bubble teams, man, like when they blow up and the pieces go elsewhere, it's gonna be because they can already make regionals and yeah. So just queso was cool to see.
Yeah,
Um,
and can we? I think Double O Nation has some beef. Should have some beef with Psyonix. If you look at who they played in the Swiss stage,
Absolutely ridiculous.
they played Vitality, Carmine, Giants, BDS, and then Evil Geniuses.
They absolutely ran the gauntlet and still nearly made it.
Like that's brutal. That's the top three teams in our power rankings, with
Mhm.
along with I think our sixth team, and
Yeah,
then German Amigos, who we might have had somewhere in the top 10.
we had them I think ninth, 10th for sure, just like with their off season. So yeah, absolutely ridiculous run they had to make. So should be chins up for them. That's a roster. I think I had them going 0-3. So huge props to them for nearly making it through. And
Yeah,
last little
absolutely.
narrative there is the Flying Dutchman. They beat Dignitas 3-2 in their first series of the day, so that was a little bit of revenge for Violent Panda and Verge. So pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think I saw a meme on little verbal meme here. I saw it on the Reddit.
Uh huh.
It was like the big strong dog, and it was Flying Dutchman when playing like their former organizations,
Yeah.
and then the little tiny cute dog, Flying Dutchman when playing anyone else.
True, because Tho beat Guild.
Yep, they swept Guild and they beat Dig, and then they lost all the other teams.
I mean, it is kind of facts. But going down the rest of the bottom eight, so the teams that did not make it to championship Saturday or Sunday, we have Vodafone Giants, Navi, and Guild. I think Navi probably about where you'd place them, but Giants and Guild would are teams that, with their history, would be hoping to compete for the top eight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be a disappointing performance from them. Um, some tough losses in there, but EU is an absolute gauntlet this year.
Yeah,
So I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see other teams fall down here throughout the rest of the fall split.
yeah. I mean, any of these teams could be making top four next time, especially Endpoint paving the way. But as you were saying, EU being a crazy gauntlet, our 0-3 teams are SK Gaming and then in dead last, Team Vitality.
Yeah, you picked Team Vitality for your easy for your getting slapped, right? That was your pick.
Easy claps. I wish I had picked them for my
Oh,
getting.
you picked them 3-0. You
Yes.
know, if you just flip them around, you almost had it right.
I was so close.
Yeah,
I
Team
have
Vitality won 3 games. They went 3-9 on the whole day. They didn't even force a game 5.
I am actually so mad at this Vitality team. I was like all last year it was like they're underperforming. They don't have land to look forward to. Like they don't care. Like once the big game comes around, like they'll turn it on and they'll like win. And they did that. They beat BDS when it mattered most, and I was like, okay, like faith restored. Next year when there are lands, like this won't be an issue anymore. They'll be motivated. They'll do fine. And then what the heck is this?
I
Like,
have no idea.
like what the heck is this? They have potentially screwed themselves from going to land. Like dish out the land narrative. Like I am just so like disappointed.
Yeah, they're gonna need. Someone was saying they need to like win an event and finish top two in the other one to qualify for LAN.
Yeah,
Obviously, the math is very complicated, but
no,
it's
in Europe too. That's ridiculous.
it's not looking good.
Like I don't know what I hope. Like for the narrative's sake, like it'd be cool if they were able to turn around and make land. But at this point, I'm so like just upset that like I'd like to see them just fail miserably. I don't know. It's just like a team with so much talent. Like Alpha 54, when he is on, is a top five, top three player like in the world. And just like with Fairy Peak and K-Dop, they have no business being this low.
Absolutely not. And if they don't make the first land, that's
Mm-hmm.
a big hit in towards like world's qualification.
Yeah. And I don't know at what point like these guys have so much like respect and tenure. At what point you start thinking of a roster move, but I don't know. Not like for Vitality, not making it regional is a, I mean, not making a major is a pretty huge deal. So, um, the other team that went 0-3, still shocking, but something that like I don't think a lot of people are too surprised by. I feel like SK have a lot of volatility, and they just had a horrible day.
Yeah, they didn't they didn't play well. They got in their 0-2 matchup. They got swept by Navi,
Yeah,
which is a team that I feel like they should be beating.
yeah,
Um,
and
I
like,
think there are some tweets out there that Stowe was tweeting some things that I don't know. They might be gone now. I was trying to find them, but he
mhm,
was not happy. I can tell you that on Twitter.
yeah, and I mean, this is a team like all three of them are sort of coming from a position of like Tox has a history of tweeting about his teammates and causing like some drama.
I guess it was
Yukio like
Tox. Yeah.
got into fights with Astral when they were on Dignitas, and like there were some personality issues there. And Ixo got like removed from Galaxy Racer when they were playing really well, so that sort of like indicates behind the scenes issues. So like mentally, I we'll see if they can recover, but this was ugly.
Oh yeah. So here are the Tox tweets. 0-1, starting off with another throw. 0-2, woo, another throw with about 50 exclamation marks. And then 0-3, absolutely embarrassed ourselves. GG's to all the teams we played. Won't happen again.
Okay, well, last tweet,
So he
not too bad.
saved it a little bit at the end, but the ones during the event is not really what you want to see.
Yeah, I don't know what powers SK have over like Tox, but they should have put it in his contract that he has to log out of Twitter on match day because nothing good ever comes of that.
Yeah, it's not great. But
But on that
that
note,
wraps up. Yeah, that'll wrap up the Swiss stage.
yes, sir.
Moving on to the playoffs.
Yep. Do you want to start at the top or bottom?
Um, we can start at the bottom, the way they actually play the games, I guess.
Yep. And
Right?
so this is quarterfinals single elimination bracket.
Yeah. Best of sevens. Start off Team BDS versus Evil Geniuses. Team BDS won 4-0 and looked comfortable doing it.
Yeah, that I don't think was the best performance from Evil Geniuses. Don't know if it was nerves or whatever, or just BDS looked incredible. Like just they're better than that, and they will be better than that hopefully. But not too much more to add there.
But also BDS is better than them. So
Yeah, that certainly was. The second matchup of the day was Semper versus Dig, which on paper was a really hype matchup between two very good teams, but in reality was a good matchup, but a absolute crap show.
yeah, it cleaned up a little by game 7,
Hmm.
but the beginning was just horrible Rocket League. It was not good.
And that was sort of the case for Dig, I think, on most of the day. Like they were still winning, but they were playing really ugly. Lots of like double commits all over the place. So they have a lot to clean up, but they're still able to get good results against very good teams. So I guess props to them. I don't know.
Yeah, they had a 3-1 lead, almost threw it away. Simba brought it back to game 7, and then Dig won it on Champs Field.
Yeah, and it produced the incredible moment of during Dig's tactical timeout of Scrub just taking a nice break to open up his window and stick his head out for the entire time. I don't know if you saw
I
that.
didn't see that. No.
He has like a window like right behind his desk, and during the entire break he just stuck his head out, and people were like speculating whether he's like yelling at his neighbors or something like that. And on Twitter he just said, "Nope, just need a little bit of fresh air."
It'd be
So
kind of funny if Scrub was like the old cranky dude, like "Get off my lawn,"
yeah,
but with a Scottish accent.
yes. I mean, you have a really good Scottish accent. I'm surprised you didn't go for it.
I'm not bringing that one out. I can't do a cranky old man, also Scottish at the same time. That would not work.
I mean, in Rocket League years, Scrub is a very cranky old man. So,
Yeah,
but excited to see what the Dig roster can do. Semper, I mean, thinking about it, you know, they're gonna have to do better next time. You can't like top eights isn't just gonna get you to top five. Like you need to make some quarters, so they'll have to figure something out.
yeah, absolutely. But I think they did well. Top eight, and they drew kind of a tough, like a 50-50 matchup in the quarter. So someone had to win it, someone had to lose.
Yeah,
And we were always going to say good on the team that won, and the team that lost needs to step it up. And it came down to a one goal game in game seven.
yeah,
So I think those teams are pretty similar in level.
yeah. And Casio is pulling up huge, and if they want to go on hero runs, they need him to be popping off. So that was good. But you want to take the next one?
Sure. Rematch from the Swiss stage, Endpoint versus Misfits. In the Swiss, Misfits won this one. But in the playoffs, Endpoint kind of took it to them. 1-4-1. Went up 3-0, dropped game four, and then came out and won game five. And just kind of looked better.
Yeah, I think Misfits tweeted at Endpoint like, "What did you feed your roster between yesterday and today?" And kind of facts. Like this was, I mean, Endpoint looked good on day one, but this was just like, okay, this team's here to ball, and they did in fact ball.
Yeah, I still wasn't super like, I don't know. I wasn't in on Endpoint all the way. I didn't think I don't know. They came out of nowhere. I
Yeah,
didn't believe until the very end, until it was all over. I didn't believe.
yeah. And I think what like goes to show here is they played like, oh, I guess I was gonna say they played teams with like different styles, but all three of like Misfits, Carmine, and BDS are extremely fast. And I think Endpoint did like an incredible job of just like absorbing and adapting to like how the other team played. And like, okay, like they were able to handle the speed of Misfits, but like would they be able to handle the speed of like Carmine and BDS? And so yeah, I think it was perfectly reasonable to still not quite be on the train at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the last quarterfinal matchup was Carmine Court versus Williams Resolve. This was sort of a little bit of foreshadowing for Carmine's run in the semifinals, but they won 4-3, but it was not particularly pretty. They started fast, started looking like an absolute better team. They went up 3-0 in the series and nearly got reverse swept.
Yeah, I think I sent Austin a text after after Carmine went up three. I was like, Carmine could challenge BDS.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't home for this game, but I happened to look at my phone to see what was going on. And I saw Williams Resolve had won two games. I was like, oh, this is getting interesting. And then Williams Resolve won a third game. And then they were one game away from the sweep, or from the reverse sweep. And then game seven went to overtime. And I was like, man, is Williams Resolve really going to do this? And then Carmine scored possibly the crappiest game seven overtime goal I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But
Absolute pain for, I think it was Prime who like hesitated on a 50, and it was just a full field like worm burner on the ground because he missed, and it was just sad. There was no one back. He needed to challenge that ball. Um, After all that, that was just the saddest way it could have ended.
yeah, but there's a goal out there. I don't the clip's probably on Reddit somewhere of Radisson hitting an absolute screamer of a like a redirect or like skim on with the Batmobile.
Yeah, I hate that car, man. That was just like the perfect example of everything the Batmobile brings, where I don't even think Batmobile players know what they're doing with it, but it just produces the weirdest touches. After he scored that banger, all six like player cams were just pure shock. It just didn't compute. It was just like a rocket out of nowhere.
Yeah, he absolutely. He didn't even blast it. I don't know how the physics work on skin touches, but that
Yeah,
was ridiculous.
it's not how like physics should work in real life. I saw it explained in a YouTube video one time, but like the faster you're going in the opposite direction to the ball creates more pace if you can like gently touch the ball. So yeah, that was just
Interesting.
the perfect example of that. I think something important to highlight here is just sort of the mental of KC doesn't look super great, and you can't really say that's super surprising. Like Astral has a long history of tilting, and Stake and Itachi were both on the Giants roster from last spring that just sort of like completely fell apart. So just something to look out for in the future. Obviously insanely talented, but they have no business nearly blowing a 3-0 lead against Williams Resolve.
Absolutely not. All right, I think that'll take us to the semis. Do you want to take these? Because I actually missed the semis.
Yeah, sure. Dignitas versus Team BDS. It was a very interesting series. I don't think 4-1 quite did Dig justice. They like the first two games just sort of, got BDS where um BDS scored and just sort of like was able to absorb and just control the pace of the game. Didn't feel like they were under too much pressure. But Dig started to turn it around. They won game three, and then game 4 and 5 went to overtime. But it was sort of like the start of Dig like putting something together. But they're just not ready to play BDS. It's just sort of like end of the day fact.
Yeah, BDS is a different level team than the other teams they played this weekend. But you hope that as they get used to each other, maybe they can get to that level where they can contend with them.
Yeah, I think like something that really stood out from both the EG series and like the Dig series is just like BDS is so efficient. Like Mark and Monkey, all three of them. I was gonna say like Mark, and I was like no Monkey Moon too. Then I was like no Extra as well. They just like don't miss the important touches. Like when they have an open shot, they put it top corner. When there's a save that needs to be made, like they make the save. Like when you watch the game, there's just so many like highlight level plays and just little things that other people would make mistakes on. They just play like at such fast pace. It's just like I had full faith that they were just going to absolutely crush this tournament after the semi and the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the tournament, outside of their one drop to Simper, they looked like they were still at the same level they were last year, just a class above the rest of EU.
Yeah. Another poorly aged text I think I sent you. I said EDU shaping up like the same way, just like Vitality disappointing and BDS running away with it. But
Yeah,
that also aged very poorly.
and I was ready for the BDS Carmine Corp finals.
And that's not
And
what
that's
we
what
got.
happened, right? Are you sure? Are you sure that's not what happened?
No, man. Endpoint took 4-3 over Carmine Corp.
Insane. Insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Even after this, I still didn't fully believe in Endpoint just with how dominant BDS looked. But they looked really good against Carmine, and they were able to absorb so much pressure. I mean, like, Itachi and Astral are both just so fast and make so many insane challenges, and Metza and Wave just don't care.
Yeah, they're just two solid players. The one cracked French guy
Yeah,
seems to be a move.
yeah, and it's like, I mean, Saiku is filling arguably the most unique role in all of Rocket League in the shoes of Virtuoso. And he sort of like as the tournament went on, he found his own take of that, which is Virtuoso was like just chasing for demos pretty much, and Saiku was occupying like he was in the attacker's half like 99% of the game. At least that's what it felt like from the outside. But he was just using that space to instead of like search for demos to search for like shot making opportunities where just search for get like take their boost, use that space to like go off the wall and go for like a flip reset, or he scored a lot of dribble plays. So I think that like especially when Wave and Metza sort of figured out like a better like two-man rotation to sort of enable him, like that worked really well against the really fast teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know what to say about Endpoint anymore.
Yeah. Uh,
I was not prepared to come in here today and talk about Endpoint for 30 minutes. It was
no.
just
And they're making everyone take notice. So,
absolutely.
and that takes us to our grand finals.
Yeah, so series 1 is the best of sets. So set 1 or series 1 or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Endpoint goes down 3-1. It's looking like BDS has this in the bag. Endpoint comes out, wins 3 straight, including Champions Field. They beat BDS 3-1, Game 7. They've taken Series 1. And you're like, alright, okay. Maybe this will go to 3 series. BDS will win this one. We'll get an exciting Series 3 where BDS will win. We go to Series 2. BDS wins Game 1. And we're all like, alright, here we go. Then Endpoint comes out and wins 3 straight. They're now up 3-1. They've won 6 of the last seven games. And we're
Insane.
like, all right, now finally, at this point, Endpoint has to be the favorites to win this. 2 more games go by. Endpoint hasn't closed it out yet, but BDS won them. We're now in Game 7. 1-1. 2 minutes and 47 seconds of overtime. Endpoint scores. They've won the European Open, the first regional of the year. Endpoint took down BDS in back-to-back best of sevens. Just insane.
Absolutely insane. That is the perfect word for it. Is just insane. They blew back to back tournament like point games against BDS. Like who comes back from that? Who recovers? Like who has the poise to go to Champions Field against BDS?
And let's on Champions Field at 1-1. I believe it was Metsunoris
Mm-hmm.
had a pretty open but kind of difficult shot with 0 seconds, and it bounced on the goal line.
Yeah.
So I thought it was in, and then it says overtime, and you can see Wave. It's just kind of like, oh my god, how did that not go in? And then they regained, and they kind of absorbed for most of that overtime. They came out and they scored first, and they won.
I mean, once you make it to OT, that's all that matters is who scores first. But there's just like so many like just looking at this match history, there's just so much like to unpack. Like in the first series, coming back from 3-1 down in that series, like winning 3 straight, like BDS had 3 straight series points and Endpoint won all of those. And then like you said, like in the second, oh my gosh, just like insane. Just like hats off to them. That's just incredible.
Absolute composure from the 2 veterans and the 1 rookie.
Yeah. And they just, were more adaptive. They just played against the teams and figured out what worked, and sometimes that's all it takes.
Absolutely.
But I think
So
that wraps up the first EU regional, which lived
yeah,
up to the EU chaos reputation.
um, so I've written awards down here since we did them last time, but I didn't warn you about it. So I don't know if you've come up with anything.
I had something in mind. You go first, and then I'll think of something.
All right. Mine's an official award, Rookie of the Year. You know, or Rookie of at least the split.
Mm.
I'm giving it out now. There's only been one event. I'm giving it out now. Seiko, congratulations, Rookie of the split. I don't care what happens from now on. You've won it.
What if Queso win and Vatira just goes crazy?
Um, then I just then I'll look like an idiot. But
I don't think so. I'm all for
I
that.
would be surprised.
Yeah, no, that if another rookie wins in our like a regional, I will be shook. I'm already shook now, so what can I say? My predictions are terrible, but
I don't even
absolutely
think there was
insane.
another rookie in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, let alone another rookie who was the standout performer for pretty much the entire tournament.
Yeah,
Okay, so I remember the award I had thought of while watching, and I would like to give the first day of school award to the entire region of Europe. You know, like when you show up at the first day of school, like maybe like in like middle school or high school, and everyone has just like changed their look around, and like people are trying new things, they want to like reinvent themselves, like maybe like especially like freshman year, and like just looking at these European standings, like this is like it feels like every like obviously they like I think like I counted like maybe like close to half the teams are still like under the same org or similar, but there's just so many new orgs, so much like roster shuffle, like there's just so much like new like things to absorb, and so it's just really fun like seeing all the new narratives start to develop.
yeah, absolutely. I'm counting right now. I count 7 new names in the top 16 here,
Yeah,
which includes Simper because they were top blokes last year.
yeah,
And then the Flying Dutchman is unsigned. But other than that, every other team is signed. But then you have teams like Giants and Queso, which aren't the same team.
yeah.
And it's just, and Vitality, who apparently isn't the same team, even though they have the same players.
Yeah, even SK was only like signed for like the spring like championships.
Yeah,
Like it's just insane, and obviously just like high school is drip or drown, so is the regional, and Endpoint absolutely flexed on everyone else. So I guess like they win my first day of school award, but I want to hand it out to the entirety of Europe.
Vitality loses the first day of school. They came with a new look, and it was apparently horrible.
Yeah, not great. I think next up we missed out on this last week, but we're not like keeping up super to date. Like I'm not actively watching the minor regions, but I certainly want to like keep tabs on like who's winning them. And so we're gonna do a little bit of a look around just to give some shout outs to the champions, the people who pulled out the first regionals.
Yeah, so I think this one happened 2 weeks ago, but in Oceania, uh, Renegades, I believe, absolutely destroyed Ground Zero Gaming in the grand finals. CJC, oh no. So they swept them in the first series, lost in game seven, the second one, and then swept them in the last one. But the last one, they outscored them 13-1. So,
Absolutely insane. Yeah,
yeah,
I think what you were saying there is like the CJ like popped off like the entirety
yes.
like their octane. If you look at the Octane GG stats like from that like finals, it's or even just like the championship Sunday, I think they put them on Twitter. It was just ridiculous. They were all like over two like in their player ratings. Just like they went crazy.
Yeah, insane. Over Ground Zero, who I think most people expected to be the favorites there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ground Zero were pretty dominant over that entire region, especially like in the winter and spring. But it'll be interesting to see like where that matchup like falls in the future if those are going to be sort of the top two teams competing for land.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so in Sam, this was this past week.
Hmm.
I'm just going down the Wikipedia list because
Yeah,
I don't know, I don't want to go chronologically because I don't know what the order is.
yeah.
Not shocking here. Furia Esports won. They beat Noble Esports.
Hmm.
From what it looks like, Furia just kind of handled business. They didn't drop a single series all tournament.
Yeah,
With True Neutral out of the picture, I think they're the best team in Sam. They've replaced Tander with Yanks, who's apparently super cracked.
yeah. He was like I think the young upstart from last season, and so they just picked up they were already the two best players, and they picked up. I'm pretty sure it was a close consensus to the third, so not very shocking that they are popping off.
Yeah.
I think the
Um,
only other interesting thing here was like sort of like seeing who's going to compete for like that rest of that top four spot. I think there's a lot of hype around Era Eternity. A lot of those players are sort of like established Sam players, and Noble Esports also very established players who were performed very well last season. Were able to take them out 4-1. So going to be interesting to see who is able to compete with Furia going forward.
yeah, but if I was predicting, which we might do later, I don't think so though. If I was predicting, I'm expecting to see Sam or Furia representing Sam at the first land.
Yeah. Next region, APAC South,
Middle East, North Africa
Middle East, North
is
Africa.
what
Okay.
I have. Um, Shocking again. Sandrock Gaming won that one. I think they also were pretty comfortable. They swept the Swiss stage, didn't drop a game, and they only dropped 3 games throughout the playoffs. Um, they're just better, but we'll see who competes for second. I think Falcons and Ultimates are the next 2 best teams in that region.
Yeah, definitely recognize the names on both those teams. But also cool to see Sandrock hopefully going to get the opportunity to prove themselves on land. And they have a new roster member from their long established one of Turk. Not like super new, but good to see that they're still performing at their best. And now they actually have something to play for. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And Senza, who was there, he was their previous third, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just their sub now, so
Yeah.
he's still hanging around if he needs to be there.
Yeah. But can't wait to hopefully see them on land. Obviously, whoever makes it out, props to them. But if it is SRG, that's going to be really hype.
Absolutely. All right. APAC North, Asia Pacific North,
Mm-hmm.
was won by Tokyo Verdy Esports or Verdi.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
It's a Japanese roster of Realize, Maru, and Tenhou.
mm-hmm.
Um,
I think
I
that this is like the I don't know much, but like from what I've heard, like this is like the Japanese team. Like this is like their equivalent of like Sandrock or like Ground Zero. So I don't think this is shocking at all.
okay.
Like
So that's good to see. They beat Hilltop Picnic in the grand finals. Uh, a roster with 2 Americans and Doomsy, an old face. So uh, for him to come back for the first time since like season 3
mm-hmm.
and make the grand finals might show that this isn't the most competitive region at the moment. He's 27 years old. Um,
He also did you see the clip of him Doomsy dishing? In
I did not know.
it's so hype. It's like with the Japanese commentators. They're like they're speaking like in their native tongue, like Japanese. Also like Doomsy dish, Doomsy dish.
I also like how every roster except for that one, which is 2 Americans and an English guy, and then Lucky Bounce has 3 Koreans,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. Lucky Bounce also, I think, has been maybe they're just renamed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, yeah, this is the roster that I think Torment got started with,
What do
or
you?
the organization or whatever the team name. I don't
Interesting,
know. Yeah,
huh?
back in like 2016.
Yeah, they have a really long history. Oh my
Yeah, their
gosh.
first team was Timothy, Sis, someone without a page, and Matt.
They had Jane Apps,
Yeah, J Naps, Torment is on here.
Memory.
Sis, Prime Thunder.
This is
Just
I don't know too much about this. This is legendary.
yeah,
But good to see them in Korea doing stuff. And
definitely interesting.
we are getting close to the end of the minor regions.
Yeah, Apex South. Who won that one? Alke
Mm-hmm.
is Valerie's LCT and Maxiu,
Yeah.
which appears to be a Singaporean roster. I don't
I'm
know how to.
I'm not gonna pretend like I know anything about Apex South, but
Yeah, and they beat Azure Esports, who has 2 people from Singapore and 1 person from Yemen in the grand finals.
and they swept the quarters, swept the semis, swept one of the series in the finals, and they just, if you look at their match history, they just scored goals. So looks like we got a pretty heavy
Yeah,
front runner there.
they appear to. I think they dropped one game in the entire region. So it should be a good match between them and what was the I already forgot. And Tokyo Verdy for the land slot.
Yes, sir.
And then we have Sub-Saharan Africa last minor region, won by Orlando Pirates XD of Snowy, Skill Steel, and Darth.
And I think it's a full South African roster.
Yeah, I think it was a full South African region.
Yep, I
Uh,
lost
we
league.
had one non-South African player in the entire region, but I think for the next one there there are some other teams that qualified, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, well, still cool. I think Orlando Pirates is like a actual soccer team, and so cool to see some bigger investment. These aren't all just pickup teams. I think that's an actual org involved. So pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah, so that's the minor regions,
Yeah,
and then uh,
but big time shout outs to all of them. Like, just so cool. I'm so happy that they have something to play for, and I can't wait to see them at LAN. Even if the first one doesn't go so well, it'll be really good just to like see them learn and grow. And
absolutely
it's really cool, like every region, just because like you sort of develop off of who you practice against. Every region sort of develops their own style, and so I don't think a lot of people have seen a lot of the Asian teams play or the sub-Saharan African teams. So going to be really cool to see.
for sure, for sure.
So next
Um,
up, I think we're gonna do a little bit of just sort of predictions on who we think is going to make the first major. Now that we have NA wrapped up and EU wrapped up, just sort of like right now, gut feelings. Who are our top fives?
yeah, so I'm going to pull up the current standings right now.
Yes.
Um,
So want to do EU first?
sure. So EU, I'm on NA. EU rankings.
And we don't have to do this in any particular order. This is just your 5 teams you think will be qualifying.
I think Team BDS will qualify.
Yes.
I think Endpoint will qualify now that they have a win under their belt. I wouldn't have predicted that 3 days ago, but we're here now.
Yes.
Um, I'm gonna give it to what I only do 5, right?
5.
I guess I'll do Carmine, Dig, and Semper.
Okay.
That's my 5.
So no Vitality. You do not believe in the comeback.
I don't believe in the comeback. No.
Okay. I certainly respect that. I think my list would look pretty similar. Obviously, BDS. I'll give it to Endpoint. I think that they have the consistency in them to pull off what they need to do. Like,
I mean,
get,
they
like,
really just gotta hold on.
Yeah, just got to hit top 8s probably. And yeah, I have faith in them, and at this point I should stop doubting them because it did not pay off for me at all. And then filling out my top 5, I think I'll go Carmine, Dig, and then just for like narrative sake, I'm gonna say Vitality. I think it'd be pretty sick if they could come back and pull it, and I want to see those players on LAN so bad. But we'll do an update on this after the second regional, and I doubt, like, depending on that is whether or not it'll even still be possible. But I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt now and say that Vitality are gonna prove that they are still a top 2 team in the next 2 regionals.
You believe in the comeback. We'll see. We'll see.
After
the next one, we should know if it's possible.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know if I do, but I'm just saying it just because.
I mean, they got a qual now for the second regionals. They don't get an auto bid.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider Vitality a top 2, top 3 team, that means they're gonna hopefully make top 4 and top 2 in the next 2 regionals. I think that, like, if you didn't count this regional, if you considered a complete anomaly, like, that would be a pretty safe bet. So we'll see, though. Europe is crazy.
Absolutely.
And,
all right, NA.
Yeah, you want me to take first this time?
Yeah, you can go first.
All right, I think this one's pretty darn simple. I'm gonna have to go phase, energy, space station. Ah, jeez. Do I want to be fun at all?
I'm going fun, so I'll let you.
Okay, I'll just go pure chalk. G2 Envy. Like unlike EU, NA has a pretty distinct top five, and I think it's all those teams look good enough to do that. The teams that didn't make top four last time, like out of those, were G2 and Envy, and they drew NRG and FaZe, which are the two eventual finalists. So that wasn't even an underperformance by them, just a tough matchup.
All right. I believe in the Homer pick. I believe in it.
Say it.
Version one will be in Stockholm. You heard it here first. They're
Land
gonna hold
tournament,
out.
land gimmick.
Land tournament. You know, stick them on land. They've won it before. They'll
Yeah.
win it. No, I'm not saying they're winning anything there. But I'm just super homer, but I believe in them to get top eights, and hopefully that's enough to sneak into that fifth spot. Maybe get another lucky draw and sneak into a top four again. We'll see. But
Yes,
my other
sir.
four teams are going to be FaZe, Energy, Space Station, and Envy.
Not
So
believing in the
I have
G2.
G2. I have G2 missing.
Okay. Any reason for them instead of like Envy or Space Station?
Um, I think Space Station is better,
Hmm.
and I want to see Turbo land.
Okay. Yeah, I respect that, and I respect the V1 pick because as a Rogue fan, you will not see me breading them in the top five. But speaking of Rogue and lackluster performances, you want to hop into the NA Regional 2 qualifications that just happened this past weekend?
Yeah, sure. I gotta let's see. Well, how do I get back to that page in Wikipedia?
I will stall out loud while you navigate.
All right,
Um, so
I
yeah,
got it.
the open quals and closed quals happened this past weekend in NA. Just real quick, like not diving too deep into the open quals, but there were some pretty shocking results here. Um, a couple teams that you would expect to be in the RLCS, like from last season, didn't make it through. Most prominent of those is Team Oxygen, who we talked about earlier in the season as being a team that had a really high ceiling to sort of break into the top 10. So disappointing for them. They lost to EU for the qualification spot. And other than that, I thought there was at least one other sort of shocking result, but maybe I am tripping.
Team Power. Team Power, I believe, was knocked out. Their two losses were to Zanil's pickup team and Integrity Esports Academy. Not Integrity Esports. Integrity Esports Academy.
Oh no! Yeah, they didn't even make day two. I forgot
Yeah,
about them. That
yeah.
is yikes, man.
When you're losing to a bubble team's academy, that's not good.
Oh gosh, yeah. We'll see if they can turn around. People are still talking about them like getting Aqua in the winter, so maybe that's what they need. But dear,
Yeah.
dear God.
Also, Kansas City Pioneers is operating with a four-man roster.
Mhm.
So this split, they tried to use Kronovi instead of Wanda Mike,
Yes, sir.
um, which got them to the close qualifier,
Hmm.
but no further.
Yeah. So I think we can sort of transition from open to close. Those are just sort of the two. It's always interesting to see which teams aren't even. I guess is that top. That's not even top 24 for Oxygen.
Yeah, no,
Oof. That's
big oof.
all I gotta say is oof. But yeah, KCP brought Daddy Crow to the close qual, and were unable to turn out the result they needed.
No. So the teams that did make it through, Ghost Gaming and Torrent went 3-0. You'd expect them to get 3-0. To be honest,
Yeah.
they're probably top 10 teams in the region to begin with, but only 8 get auto quals, so top 10 teams have to go into the close qual. So that's them. They won,
Yep.
took care of business. Third through fifth, we got a couple new names here. Vibrance United went through along with the Sonics. So yeah,
Yeah,
first regional for those two teams.
yeah, and Vibrance and EU's only losses were to Torrent. So uh, that is certainly respectable, and also speaks more to Torrent. They took out two teams that were both on that day, so that's a scary looking roster moving forward.
Absolutely. And then Sonics took care of business. They went 3-1. I think they lost to E United.
Yeah,
So
Game 5, first round. So they were able to pull back from that. I don't know if you'd like me to talk about the Rogue series now or when we get to Rogue.
let's do Rogue since we're gonna go there now.
Yeah.
Sixth through eighth, these teams went 3-2 and just qualified. They'll be facing the best of NA in the first round. Nefarious, RBG Esports, and Rogue.
Yeah, props to Nefarious and RBG. In round 5, they beat Nefarious beat Pittsburgh, and RBG beat Integrity. So uh, both in both those situations, I think that they would be the slight underdogs, and so to clutch that out with the regional on the line is pretty awesome. Rogue, um, it was an interesting day. I followed closely enough for most of it, and I think the really sad thing about Rogue is like they're beating the teams they should, but they're not beating any of the teams they need to. Their two losses came against Ghost and Sonics. I think that those were both of their losses in the close qual last time, if I remember correctly, or something along those lines. I know that in the past 2 weeks they've lost to both those teams, and like if you're pushing for top 10, you need to win those games. And this is the third straight best of 5 they've lost in Game 5 to Sonics, and Game 5 itself went to a 8-minute overtime. And so that was the manner in which Rogue did not qualify there. They also were up 2-1 in the series and lost Game 4 in overtime. I think like both the times they played Sonics, they blew a 2-1 lead with Game 4 and 5 going to overtime. So I think I said that I had a feeling Sonics were going to give Rogue trouble all season, and that just continues to be the case. They just play clean, and Rogue do not. And when it comes like down to crunch time, it's just more likely that Rogue are going to make a mistake than the Sonics. So that game, like, it's not to harp on Rogue too much, but it just goes to show how important like those like Game 4 and 5 are. Rogue went from, if they had won that series, I believe they would have been the 4th team coming out of here, so that would be the equivalent of the 12th seed. But instead, because they lost that Game 5, and just like the way that game differences played out, they ended up being the 8th seed. And so that'll be 16 when it comes to the actual regional, so they'll be playing number 1. And so that has very big handicapping effects on like what Rogue is going to be able to do in the regional. They're going to be playing, I believe, FaZe, and so it's just they just don't have the clutch in them right now, which is just sad to see.
Yeah, they changed from. I don't know. They actually tied for the seventh seed. Let's see if the event is if they have the first matchups. They do not.
Mm-hmm.
So they went from either playing FaZe or Energy, or if they'd won that, they would have played either Space Station or Version 1,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously a better matchup.
Yeah.
To now playing Energy or FaZe.
Yeah. And so
but they were, I will say, they came back from an 8-minute overtime loss and swept Accelerate. So
yeah, then
they regained a little bit.
Oh, for sure. But it's just, they just need to beat. They're not beating any of the teams they need to, which I think in my mind almost puts them a tier below. Like if you can't consistently compete with like teams like 8 through 10, that sort of bumps you down to 12 through 16. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But
all right, and then the notable teams that didn't qualify, Pittsburgh Knights has now not qualified for either event.
Yep.
Integrity Esports didn't make this time along with Team DV. Oh, apparently, according to the broadcast, it's not Team DVS.
Mm-hmm. Devious.
It's Devious. Yeah.
Lit. Esports.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Pioneers didn't qualify. Charlotte didn't make it this time, even though they did last time. And Shopify Rebellion, playing with Nexity instead of Beast Mode, went 0-3, 0-3, 1-3. Um, they will not be making WAM. I can tell you that one.
No,
Without Beast Mode, they're not a good team.
they need to find someone new and find someone good really quick to even get themselves in order before the winter split, because this looks real bad.
Yeah, I think they should just go ahead and forfeit the 40 points they have now and make a change and try to get someone in there.
Yeah.
I don't know who. Maybe they can stall for Daniel or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Try and like poach Blaze. This is just me spitballing, but yeah, they need to figure something out quick.
Absolutely.
And so I guess we can try and do Preds for the NA Regional 2. We don't have like the matchups, but that doesn't even really matter that much.
Yeah, we don't have the matchup, but I think we can guess what they are going to be based on how they're ordered in this. I think this is the matchups if you just kind of reverse it. So FaZe will play RBG, Energy versus Rogue, Version 1 versus United, stuff like that. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's how that's going to work out.
So we will do.
Before we do this, I just want to say, last week we went 0-3 in our Preds.
Yes.
I have a feeling we're going to be way more accurate with our NA Preds than our EU Preds. So I think overall, I am 3-6, and Austin is 0-6.
Yeah, all my confidence and my prediction abilities is completely shot at this point, so I do not expect to get any right this time.
All right, I will. I'm gonna be writing down the predictions, so
okay.
So that we can keep track.
For the sake of my ego, I'm gonna take the first. Fred for easy claps.
Yeah, all you.
Make you get creative. I'm gonna take NRG.
All right.
I think NRG are going 3-0 again. They'll recover easily after the FaZe series and will absolutely dominate. Although Justin's Twitch stream title last night was Hard Slumping L.
That's been his stream title for the past week, so
yeah, they'll be all right.
I'm going to take a team that I think is more consistent against the lower level teams, and I don't think we'll drop a random one. But I'm gonna go with. I started talking, and then I got distracted by a different team. I'm gonna go Team Envy. I'm switching it. I was gonna go Space Station. I'm gonna go Team Envy.
The machine.
The machine comes out 3-0.
Yeah. If FaZe go 3-0 in the Swiss, then I'm taking them for the third one just because they might just be too good.
That might have been a bad move because I think Envy is playing Sonics, but
they should win that though.
They should.
Sonics aren't going to take them by surprise, and Envy are just too clean.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you the honor of the fill the gaps. So our team that goes 3-2 on the day.
Thanks. I believed in them, right? I said they're making land, which means they got to make top 8.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe in them to go 3-1. V1, 3-2.
I like that. I like that a lot. You gotta back the boys, and
I gotta back the boys.
They're only gonna do it in dramatic fashion. There's no way it's clean. So
it'll be Game 5 OT in Series 5.
For me here, I think that with the way that this is projected, Torrent and True Neutral are gonna play each other right off the bat, and so I think whichever team wins that matchup is going to go 3-2 on the day, and that's going to be such a good game, honestly.
Absolutely.
I think Torrent looked incredible last night. I'm gonna go them, and I know it's gonna bite me in the butt, and True Neutral are gonna win. But I'll have Torrent taking my fill the gaps. I think that honestly both those teams could be 3-2 on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
I have full faith in those two teams to beat every single one below them, other than maybe Ghost and Sonics. But I think they're a slight. I think that like I think like this is our top 10. Like if you look at this right now, this is our top 10. Assuming Xset, I didn't see them that far up there, but assuming they can
Yeah,
hold where they were.
I mean they're on the same seat as NVG2 and True Neutral right now.
Yeah,
I think they're probably only above them based on or game differential in the quarters, which they only had a better one because they played V1.
yeah. Envy and G2. I think G2 just won 6 games. But yeah. All right. So getting slapped are 0-3 teams.
You got the first pick.
Oh man, I feel bad just like picking on these teams. But I think Vibrance looked better than the other two teams that I'm looking at, which is Nefarious and RBG. So I'm gonna take RBG. I think this is, you know, playing if RBG are playing phase right off the bat, that is just one way to get your confidence absolutely shot. So maybe they can recover, maybe they can do better, but they'll be my getting slapped my 0-3.
I think that was the best pick out there. You've now left me with a couple options here, and I don't know what to go with.
Yeah.
I believe in Rogue to take care of business in a game that they should win.
Yeah.
Like if they're playing RBG to go 0-3, I believe Rogue's gonna win that.
Yeah.
So I'm deciding between Vibrant, United, and Nefarious, I guess.
So just for some context, Vibrance went 3-1, but they beat Shopify, Accelerate, and RBG, and lost to Torrent. So they didn't necessarily. The only other team they beat that qualified was RBG. And Nefarious.
The quality loss, though.
What'd you say?
The quality loss.
Yeah.
Torrent.
Nefarious only beat teams that didn't qualify. They beat Charlotte, Integrity, and Pittsburgh, and lost to Ghost in the EU.
I'm gonna go. I guess Nefarious.
Really, you're just gonna let me sway you like that?
I didn't know what I was actually. Oh my. Adam Body Hockey. It's on Vibrance. Astro. You know what? I'm switching. I'm switching back to Vibrance.
Yeah.
Vibrance.
I like that's like a triumphant choice, but it means like the worst thing for them.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's what I'm going with. The Ferris coach's name is Space Beer. Although Vibrance coach is Shoebill. I'm sticking with Vibrance.
Alright, let's see if you can protect your perfect NA record.
Oh my god, it's on the line. I doubt it. I'm less confident in these picks than I was last time.
I believe.
Alright. Is that all we got today?
I think that is all that we have. We went a little over our usual time, but I think it was very well warranted. There was so much to talk about and unpack with EU. I was just really excited.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like most of my anticipation was geared towards NA just because it was first, but EU lived up to the hype and then some.
Yeah, I think people are expecting a long episode here after the chaos of EU.
And oh my god, dude, LAN is going to be so hype. But
oh my god, we're getting closer every week.
I have no idea who's going.
I mean, by this time next week, we'll have a decent idea of who's going from NA.
Yeah, but I feel like we had a decent idea of who's going from NA before the season started.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have put V1 currently in 4th place.
Yeah, I still don't put them in 4th place over.
in terms of current point standing.
Okay.
Not in terms of ability.
Yeah. Can they do it on another weekend?
The disrespect.
We shall see.
All right.
But yeah, I think that wraps it up. You got anything else?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, we hit the big points. Little recap here. Endpoint won EU. Vitality lost EU. Shopify is dead.
Yes. Follow our Twitter, join our Discord, subscribe on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. I don't know how else you'd be listening to us if you weren't already, but please do that.
All right. For myself, Colin, Manatee Fanatee, and my co-host, Austin Knapsack, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Peace.